played spoiler to the league MVP Lamar Jackson and the Ravens last season in the divisional round. And the same two teams, fellas, match up this weekend. Super Bowl champ Ryan Clark still here with us. Stephen A., you're up first. Will the Titans eliminate Lamar's Ravens again?
I'm afraid to say yes. I believe they will. I think this game is at Tennessee, if I remember correctly. You got a 2,000-yard rusher in Derrick Henry, who, by the way, ran for 133 and an overtime win against them earlier this season. Last time he faced them last year was 195 yards that he rushed for in the postseason, in the playoff game against them. The Baltimore Ravens have the top running attack in football because of Lamar Jackson's ability to run the football. I don't think that's what's going to get it done in the postseason. I think he's going to have to throw it. I think he's going to be challenged to throw the football in the postseason. The Baltimore Ravens have the worst passing attack in football. They rank dead last. Now, obviously, Tennessee's pass defense isn't that great. I think they're like third worst. So it's going to be interesting to see, because if Lamar Jackson can throw the football against anybody, it should be them. But in the end, I think with Derrick Henry's ability to move the chains and run the football effectively, let's not forget that Ryan Tannehill's completing better than 65% of his passes, 65% of his passes. I'm sorry, he's got 33 touchdowns on the season. I think like 10 interceptions or something like that. He's got A.J. Brown and Corey Davis and those boys. I think they're vastly underrated in certain respects in terms of what they can do offensively. Even though Baltimore Ravens defense is real, make no mistake about it, they are real against the pass, against the run, and all of that stuff. Their kryptonite has been Derrick Henry. They're going to focus on that. They're not going to be able to focus but so much on Ryan Tannehill. I think he'll have an effective evening, and I think they'll dare Lamar Jackson to throw the football. And he doesn't have a surefire, bona fide number one to really fling that football all over the field. I hope I'm wrong, because I'm really rooting for him to win this game. As much as I love Derrick Henry, I'm still rooting for Lamar Jackson to win this game. But I don't think that they're going to do it. I think overall, in the end, particularly come playoff time, Tennessee is more tested. They're more tried and tested. They're the better team. I think they win this game.
Yeah, well, you're right about this, Stephen A. If Lamar Jackson had one more playmaker on offense, they'd maybe real Super Bowl threats, and maybe they will be anyway. Let's see. But the question as to whether Lamar's going to get eliminated for the third consecutive year in the playoffs, I think the answer is no, he's not. I think he's going to get it done this time. First of all, Wink Martindale has, a job here. And you're right, they're going to focus on Derrick Henry. You got to stop Derrick Henry, because that's the key to their offense. Not that Tannehill is not excellent. He is. But it all starts with Derrick Henry. Now, can he do it? Well, here's the encouraging thing. He ran for 130-something in an overtime win. That means it's a close game against the Ravens earlier this season. He ran for almost, around 200 million yards last year in the playoffs, so at least that's trending in the right direction. I think Lamar Jackson is good enough and has gotten better enough in these situations to get this done. And I'll give you a key reason in a second. First, let me say, first playoff game he ever had in the first half was as bad as I've ever seen a quarterback look in any playoff game. His first half. His second half, he was much better. Still not good enough, but you could see he was adapting quickly. He's very young in that playoff game, got his feet wet and adapted quickly. In his next playoff game last year, he wasn't the reason they lost. He put up big numbers. He didn't have a great game, but it was much closer to, oh yeah, that's Lamar Jackson, than it was in his first playoff game. He's trending in the right direction. And then finally, guys, the first game this season that they played, as you said, overtime, it's a close game. What does Lamar Jackson have to do in this game? He needs to be Tom Brady. And how do I mean Tom Brady early in his career with the Patriots? Tom Brady, in these close playoff games, would get his team close enough that a great field goal kicker could win it for him, right? That was a lot of the time. Who's the best in the business? It's Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
Do I think Lamar Jackson can keep this game close enough and get his team in position for Justin Tucker to kick a field goal late in the game to win it? I certainly do. And in fact, I think that's what's going to happen. I'm picking the Ravens.
Man, you know what's crazy? Like, you start thinking right now, my mind's running back to last year's game. My mind's running back to Derrick Henry on the right sideline with Earl Thomas coming to tackle him, and then Earl Thomas ending up as Derrick Henry's lead blocker. That keeps replaying in my mind, and I keep thinking to myself, this is Derrick Henry time, right? This is when Derrick Henry gets going. You go back to last week, he has to get 240. He goes out and gets it against the Houston Texans. And we saw him start that trend last season. And so it's not about stopping Derrick Henry. If you go back to the Tennessee Titans, Baltimore Ravens playoff matchup last year, Ryan Tannehill didn't throw it a lot, but he threw it extremely effectively, right? He was extremely accurate. He hit big plays downfield. The Baltimore Ravens understand how they'll be attacked. But make no mistake about it, last year wasn't just on Lamar Jackson. And here's the biggest problem I have about when we talk about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was the 5th quarterback picked in the 2018 draft. The Ravens actually moved back into the first round to get him. In that draft, Baker Mayfield was first, Sam Darnold was next, Josh Allen went 7th, and then Josh Rosen. There's only one quarterback from the 2018 class that we judge based on playoff wins only. Why are we happy about Baker Mayfield? Oh, because he made a playoff, right? We're happy about Josh Allen because now he's ascended into the MVP conversation. You know who been made a playoff? Lamar Jackson. You know who already won the MVP? Lamar Jackson. You know who's trending in the right direction in playoff games? Lamar Jackson. And I think this is the week he gets it. He talked about it a little bit this week saying, I hear it. I try not to internalize it, but there's a lot of players that have played a lot longer than me who haven't won playoff games. And what I heard from that is my time is coming. My time is now. I understand I have to stop that narrative, but I got to stop that narrative being me. And that's what we've seen since the Tennessee Titans matchup this season. We've seen Lamar Jackson, be the best athlete on the field with the football in his hand. Greg Roman understands that, and for that reason, the Tennessee Titans will lose to the Baltimore Ravens.
Sounds nice. Really does.
Sounds right.
When I think about J.K.
Sounds right.
Dobbins. Ryan Clark, there are a few games you got wrong this year. Let's not act like we're infallible and flawless. You've gotten a few games wrong this year, my brother, okay? We'll find out whether or not you're right. But in the end, but in the end, I will say Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and those boys, I expect them, you know what, we can't sneeze at their running attack. But who you going to throw the football to? You got the worst passing attack for a reason. And maybe it's not Lamar Jackson. Maybe it's the inability of dudes to get open. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I would defer to you, Ryan. I'll listen to whatever you tell me with that one. I don't know the reason why, but I know they ranked dead last with their passing attack. And I know that Lamar Jackson was quoted as saying this was a problem we needed to fix in like week 4 or 5, and they still haven't fixed it 11 games later. So I'm looking at it from that perspective, and I'm saying I'm supposed to believe that suddenly this weekend against Tennessee with Derrick Henry, and you come into his house, all right, and Ryan Tannehill is nothing to sneeze at. I'm supposed to believe that suddenly we going to see something different. Now, if you're going to run the football all day, I stand down because we know what he's capable of.
They can run it, and they can play defense.
But in terms of flinging that football, I don't know.
Stephen A., they can run it. They can play defense, and they can kick field goals. And, you know, as I said, if Lamar Jackson, he doesn't have to be the greatest passing quarterback ever. He has to be competent when they need him most in high-leverage situations. I believe he can do that. Look at the trajectory of his career under pressure.
Well, let me answer that, and then I'll leave Ryan with a last word. What I will say is this. Against conventional teams, sure, because obviously you got a secondary and you can get at the passing. We got all of that. Here's the problem. We're literally talking about somebody in Derrick Henry that is their kryptonite. That's what I'm saying. When we think about the Baltimore Ravens, we look at them against almost anybody else outside of the Chiefs, and we like, all right, let's go. We'll see. But against Derrick Henry, he just methodically wears you down. And all the skill in the world can't give you that. That's like asking, listen, that's like asking, hold on. That's like asking Max to get on a Peloton. I mean, that just might not work. That just might not work, Ryan. I mean, if you can't handle the elliptical, what you gonna do with a treadmill or a Peloton? I just don't know. I mean, I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying. I mean, if you can't handle the elliptical machine, what are you supposed to do with the other stuff? You see what I'm saying, Ryan? You see what I'm saying?
Stephen A., first off, Stephen A., you are knocking him. And secondly is this. Derrick Henry's everybody's kryptonite. When you rush for 2,000 yards, that means nobody tackles you. Here's what I'll say. It's going to be about Can you contain Derrick Henry enough to make Ryan Tannehill work for it? And you keep saying that Lamar has to be a great passer. He doesn't. He has to be Lamar Jackson, and he has to be efficient and extremely competent in the important and critical moments, and I expect him to be.
Molly, two games against the Houston Texans, Derrick Henry ran for 465 yards in 2 games against Houston this year.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, I get where you're coming from because obviously Baltimore's not Houston.
He ran.
And he got a lot of yards.
He ran for 390 against the Ravens 2 times, but the Ravens are still favored by 3. Max, just keep your core tight and push through your heels. It'll work your glutes. When we come back here on First Take, to tackle here. I love you guys. Monday night, the College Football National Championship. Who will get the crown, Ohio State or Alabama? LeBron speaks out on the chaos at the Capitol on Wednesday.